Chapter 30 Branching Paths. Summary. Developments are made in regard to the fate of the captured duo. The splintery rope was like barbed wire on his skin. The voices of their captors were like a cacophony of metal grinding against metal. The sight of pacing leather boots was like the sure feet of a predator cornering their prey. The smell of the musty warehouse was like stifling cotton in his lungs. The taste of the dirty gag in his mouth was like the lingering filth he sometimes swore he could still feel on his body from those long months. He was back. He was trapped. He couldn't do this. Breathe. No, he couldn't afford to break down. He needed to pull himself together. All that was trapping him was rope. It wasn't metal bars. He was okay. He had to think rationally. Izuku could feel some presence return to his body as his eyes focused on the now planted boots. They said something before. He doesn't think he quite heard it, but he makes sure to listen now when a voice permeates the air. How forgetful of me! Can't answer if you got those gags in. Now, promise not to bite, the owner of the boots mocked. From what Izuku could see from his side, they appeared to be the one from the alley, the one he had seen before someone knocked him out. It's okay. Control your breathing, Izuku. In, out, breathe. The other figure, green and stockier in build, approached him and roughly wrenched the gag from his mouth, jostling his now spinning brain, and let the gag fall limply around his neck. He couldn't help the shaky gasp of air he let in once its intruding presence was gone. Breathe. The large green form made its way over to the tentacle-haired sentient, staying silent all the while. It seemed that there were only the two of them here, at least for now, which meant that it was probably the green one that had knocked him out. No wonder his head continued to thrum with steady pain. He'd be lucky if he didn't have a concussion. Ochako's shaky voice broke the uneasy silence. How do you know we were Terrans? Wait, what? Their kidnappers knew they were Terrans. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Just like the last. Breathe. Well, the tentacled sentient drawled, appearing to enjoy the attention from his captive audience. We had our suspicions when you lot waltzed in the market with wide eyes. Obviously not from around these parts. Your accent when you spoke to the salesman, coupled with your overall unique appearances, had our interests piqued. I insisted that you look like Terran Deathworlders, but Gertie doubted me. But after that stint the spiky-haired Terran pulled off with the capsaicin, they were convinced. The words seemed to float around Izuku's head as he struggled to take them all in. The simple, yet alien sentences not quite clicking into place in Izuku's pounding, panicked brain. They had been recognized while just walking around the market by these two kidnappers. Hey, Greenie, we are not simple kidnappers. We may not be all big and fancy like the Zynots, but we are esteemed traffickers of our own rights. He had said that out loud? Oh no, it looked like his brain-to-mouth filter wasn't working right now. He was probably saying all this out loud right now. Why was he thinking out loud in basic and not Japanese? Of all the times he... Breathe. Ochako's soft but steady voice whispered. It's okay, Deku. The others will come for us. Remember that. Kachan, Mei, Mina, Denki. Yeah, They were still out there. They wouldn't leave them. The blue sentient shrill voice cut through the silence once more. Your pitiful hope is irritating. The others in your group won't even know where to find you, let alone be able to take us down. It was obvious how fragile your species is by how easy you two went down. Anyway, I think I'm done with you, Greenie. I can't stand that incessant muttering. Gertie, gag it again. Zuko's breathing began to pick up as large round hands reached down to slip the foul rag back between his teeth, holding his jaw uncomfortably open. He needed to breathe. He needed to calm down. This was okay. He was okay. But as the dense fabric was forced firmly into his mouth, his heart rate picked up and his eyes blurred out of focus. Breathe, breathe, breathe. He couldn't breathe. He was not okay. The panic that set in was just so overwhelming. He couldn't. He needed to. Zuko slowly felt himself detach from his body as his brain retreated from everything that could hurt it. Despite his own protests, he drifted. Ochako really didn't like that pompous blue alien. Besides the fact that he and his friend kidnapped her and Deku, there was also the fact that Deku was currently having some sort of dissociation/anxiety attack, and there was nothing she could do to help. Zuko must be concussed or something with how his thoughts were spilling out of his head more than usual, not to mention the dried blood in his hair. And then, this absolute stain on society told the green alien to gag him again, sending him spiraling. Just because he thought Deku's distressed rambles were annoying. She doesn't know what she was expecting from literal traffickers, but it made her blood boil nonetheless. And oh, was the revelation that they were traffickers and not kidnappers a bone-chilling shock. They had let their guards down too much, and they had split the group. Now look where it got them. Rule number 1 in horror movies, don't split the group. But it appeared they had forgotten the genre of their lives. The blue alien started talking again. Ah, much better. Anyway, what should we do with our newest acquisitions, Maybe we should sell them to a fighting ring. That's always a good option. They'd get some nice physical activity. What else? Maybe the exotic meat trade. I'm sure there's some weirdo out there who'd love to try Terran meat. Not my taste, personally, but I'm not here to judge. Ochako could feel herself pale as the tentacled alien continued to talk about what might await her and Izuku if they didn't get out. Right in front of them. Oh, another good option could be sex trafficking. Ochako felt her heart still. Not my type. Too fleshy. But I'm certain there's plenty of lowlifes who would just be salivating over the chance to use these. He gave the two of them appraising looks before starting up in a condescending tone. Maybe not you, Brownie, but Greenie, on the other hand. Ochako heard a small whimper from her side. Guess Deku wasn't far enough in his head to miss that sickening comment. He's pretty enough to get a good price. Small and cute, too. Nice and helpless looking. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Brownie, on the other hand, might be feisty enough for the ring. The blue alien started making his way towards the two of them, delicate fingers reaching out to brush against her shoulder. A small gasp left her ungagged mouth at the shockingly cold contact. Yes, the alien quietly muttered to himself. Good condition for the rings for certain, though the flesh doesn't seem overly protective. Ochako couldn't help the full body shudder that washed over her at the hand. Slimy, probing fingers continued to wander, tracing agonizingly slowly over her collarbone before slipping up her neck. The cool touch lingered all over her skin, even as the alien firmly gripped her jaw, turning her head side to side under appraising eyes. There was nothing unsavory in his gaze. He just looked at her the way one would when assessing the quality of a product. Still, she wanted to shake his unsettling contact off her body, but was frozen, wide brown eyes staring forward in shock. When the surprisingly light fingers moved to brush the hair off her neck, a new fear snapped into focus. As soon as her neck was uncovered, a strangled gasp came from the tentacled alien. There was no doubt as to why, when slimy fingers moved to rest right where she knew her serial number tattoo to be. The touch, no longer light, roughly pulled her poncho down to expose her left shoulder. Probing fingers immediately traveled to the raised brand on her skin. Her stomach dropped even further at the feeling of cool fingers tracing the overly sensitive raised lines on her body. It was just her shoulder, but it felt exposing. There was a general consensus within the teens to avoid their brands. Too many bad memories and too intimate a touch. But here, this alien was, tracing every line and groove in her skin. She wanted to scream. So, she did the only thing she could think of. The feeling of slimy skin between her teeth was unsettling, but well worth it when the blue alien wrenched his hand away from her. She released the squishy appendage without resistance as the alien scrambled back to his green friend. The gasps of pain were slightly satisfying as he cradled his bruised hand to his chest. Less satisfying was the bulky green alien forcing the foul gag back between her teeth. "You savage!" The blue alien breathily panted. "Of course you would do the one thing I told you not to. Bet those damn glockaberries pulled you straight from the wild. Stupid cow traffickers." The green alien looked startled at the mention of the Gao. Ochako couldn't think straight enough to try and figure out what they were talking about. She was having enough trouble holding back budding tears and trying not to hyperventilate. "That's not all, Gertie. It has a Trellin serial number. Check the other one for one. I'm not getting close to those little monsters again." The silent green alien lumbered up to Deku and sloppily yanked his fluffy hair out of the way, revealing his tattoo. A short nod back to the tentacled alien was all it took for him to groan in annoyance. "Looks like we're gonna have to hand them over to the Trellins. I am not looking to get killed for selling escaped stock." The horned alien gave the blue one a look. "Nope, I don't want to mess with them. Even if things have been a little more disorganized since the new owner took over, they're still a centuries-old family business. Not a good idea." At that, the green one seemed to acquiesce. "Anyway, I'm sure there'll be some sort of reward. Our efforts won't have been for nothing. We'll just have to check the bounty board to confirm and then figure out how to contact those assholes." Ochako's blood froze. They wanted to give them back. They wanted to have them go back to cramped cages and wasting away by the day while waiting for an inevitable fate. It was so much worse than just the two small-time traffickers. Ochako had faith that the others would find them, but if the two called the traffickers the Trellin, they could find them. The planet wouldn't be safe anymore. All their progress would be gone. This had gotten way worse, way too fast. and she couldn't do anything. She was tied up tight. She couldn't use her quirk. She couldn't even speak. Well, nothing would stop her from doing all she could to try and escape. Things weren't in their favor. All she could do was wait and hope that an opportunity would arise, or the others would come for them in time. And besides, after a quick glance at Deku, she's not sure how much more he could take before he broke.